The Altima GXE with The Altima GXE with $2,200 in no-charge features. Okay, the Altima GXE with 4-speaker stereo, air conditioning, cruise control, power windows and door locks, premium upholstery, power and... Again? Oh, man. The Altima GXE. Your Nissan dealer will tell you all about it. There. I feel much better now. I'm going home.
From the early 1800s, the woods gave a rhythm to New Brunswick life. It used to be that men went to the lumber camps in the fall and winter, drove the rivers in the spring, and tended farm and family in summer. It was a way of life that lasted until the 1940s, a time when the work was still done by hand, and horsepower was the real thing. This is CBC New Brunswick.
Monday on NB Now, starting over. A year ago, Randy Oldfield was flying down right wing, dreaming of the big leagues. Today, he sits and dreams of his first step. A story of courage, Monday at 6 on NB Now.
Dicentra, a very good-looking little plant. You can see it's got the flowers on there. And so you know exactly what it's going to look like. It's a nice key when you go to a garden center. If you're looking for a particular color, buy it in bloom, and you know then that you're going to get this color all the way through. It's sort of a woodland plant, too. And then all of us had a favorite aunt, grandmother or so that had a garden when we were tiny, and I'm sure they all had this. They sometimes called it Moses in the bulrushes. It's a form of Tradescantia, and it has 3-petaled flowers like a trillion. Beautiful, strong, purpley blue, and in the center, golden stamens. And it just works so nicely in a mixed mortar, no matter where you are. We have acidic soil out here on the coast, but this is one that I would strongly recommend for the areas of the country where the soil is on the alkaline side. It's a dianthus, or a pink, or sometimes a border carnation if you want to. And we used to use them around the edge of rose gardens or underneath. These have single flowers, very strongly scented. And for us on the coast here, we'd need to put a little bit of dolomite lime around them when we plant them. Poppies, well, definitely we should all grow the big oriental poppies. They have those enormous flowers that unfold like tissue paper, and they always fall all over the place, so they'd be perfect for staking the way that we did these with the twigs on the other side. And last but not least, all of you that live in the maritime provinces, a good plant for all of us having a mixed border. Anyway, time for us to take a break.
We'll have more on perennials when the best of Canadian Gardener returns in just a few minutes.
Gardeners, when do you normally pick your first red tomato? This year, why not way before your neighbors? You can with Mr. Tomato's Kozy-Coats. The secret is in the water. Water stores heat during the day, warms the plant at night, and insulates against the worst weather of late spring. Whether you're in Toronto or Vancouver, Edmonton or Halifax, Kozy-Coats will speed your harvest by up to 6 weeks. Bet you can't beat this prairie gardener.
Kozy-Coats really work for me, too.
Oh, your neighbors are going to be jealous. Kozy-Coats by Mr. Tomato. Foot itch.
The problem I have is that my feet tend to perspire. It's very uncomfortable because it's an itch.
Foot itch sufferers get relief with Gold Bond medicated powder.
When I first started to use the Gold Bond, the cooling effect alone seemed to have eliminated the itch.
Gold Bond's triple action formula stops foot itch with a proven medicated itch fighter, the absorbing action of powder, and the drying action of zinc oxide.
I don't have this uncomfortable feeling after I use Gold Bond.
Triple action Gold Bond medicated powder stops foot itch.
He was a king. He was a king of comedy.
When everything gets you down, you get up. And mambo!
John's concepts were the best. It was John that thought of throwing the TVs out the window.
In Splash, it wasn't like working. It was just a gas.
You couldn't help but love John Candy.
Just give you take after take.
He was a real hero.
To John with Love, a tribute to John Candy, Sunday at 8.
Begin Monday night on CBC at 7:30 with...
Where did you come from? I'm the kid that came back from the dead.
The Odyssey. Followed by...
Duh!
The Fresh Prince at 8.
Gotcha.
At 8:30,
You're right.
it's Blossom.
Chanel.
Kids in the Hall follow at 9. Then, at 9:30, this hour has 22 minutes.
And that's the right answer.
The best in adventure and comedy on CBC Monday night beginning at 7:30.
This will be an adventure.
Take a madcap romp with the queen of personality, Tracey Ullman.
Okay, enough already.
Takes on New York in her very own special Sunday at 9 on CBC.
Right now, I'd like to spend just a little bit of time showing you how to transplant seedlings. First and foremost, you need to get yourself a fairly decent soil mix, and it's probably simplest to go and purchase it from a garden center. But if you like to make your own, this is one that we do in the nursery. It's basically 3 parts of sterilized topsoil, 2 parts of peat, and 1 of perlite. And because these are baby seedlings and we want them to grow fairly quickly, we add to that mixture some Osmocote. And in this case, it's Osmocote 14, 14, 14, and about a tablespoon to a pailful, household pailful of soil should do it. You add that when it's dry. This is a little bit on the dry side, so we need to give it a bit of moisture. And I have cold water here, but a little tip for you at home. Any peaty soil that's difficult to get moist, use hot water from the tap. And if you buy a big bale of peat that you're going to add into the garden later on in the season, put the hose on the utility sink, run it out the door, run it into the bale before you put it in the garden. It'll really help a lot. Anyway, we get it nicely mixed up so that when you squeeze a handful of it, it just sort of sticks together like the first snowball you made at the beginning of the winter. I know we don't want to talk about snow now, but you get the idea. Not muddy, but just moist. And we've got little, well, 2-inch, 5-centimeter pots that we'll use here. We use these a lot in our nursery, and the square pots are good because that way you can set them out in flats or boxes and it works quite nicely. I don't put any drainage material in the bottom of these little pots. I don't think it's necessary. And just sort of slightly overfill them. Don't push any soil down at all. Just overfill them so it's mounded on the top. And we have here some little seedlings, not the ones we sowed, but these are actually little, let's see, Miranda, which is a vine, a trailing vine that we put in our hanging baskets out here. And what they just have started to grow, they have their seed leaves, but they've also got 2 real leaves at the top. And what you do, just make a hole, pop them down in, and you can bury them right up to their seed leaves, which is really, really nice. You know, don't be frightened. At this stage, they'll root out from there quite well. So there you go, a wonderful little spring activity. And of course, when you finish, you'd have to water them in. So once again, when transplanting seedlings, use a sterilized potting mix. Moisten until it sticks together. Overfill the pots, but don't firm them. And transplant single seedlings, pressing down lightly on the soil, and water them in. This is the time of the year when shrubs like the buddleia start to put out their new growth that it's getting a little bit hardy. Not very, very softwood, well, that comes right after the flowers, but the hardwood, and we do semi-hardwood cuttings at this time of the year. It's a good idea to actually root your cuttings in a cold frame if you possibly can, but first and foremost, you need to make up a medium in which they will work. And so this is some peat moss, which is nicely moistened. You'll remember from many times before on the show, it takes on water much faster if it's warm, so this is nice and wet. 1 part of peat to 2 of perlite, and you just mix it all together. Then, of course, you put it in a flat like so, which I've done, and this is all pre-moistened, and we're ready to go. Again, you would try to go out, if possible, when you're collecting your cuttings, not in the heat of the sun like it is right now, but go early in the morning or late in the evening. Take a big plastic garbage bag with you and some labels so that you know what you're getting. And I've tried to choose something to start off with that we probably all will have all across the country, and it's actually this shrub that's right next to the buddleia here, the bridlereed spirea. And you can see, these are what we call heel cuttings, so you pull them off, like so. Let me do another one or 2, just a little faster. And as they come off, let's show you just one. You can see that it's got that little tiny piece on there, which is a little bit of the main stem with it. That's a heel, and that's where all the root initials are in this. So that one's come off quite clean. If they were very, very ragged, then you could get your pruners and just trim them off straight. And you prepare yourself, well, be 2 or 3 cuttings. and take off at least a third of the leaves at the bottom so that you've got all these leaf joints available, showing. And then get yourself some rooting hormone, semi-hardwood. You go to a garden center and they'll have it. You know, there's number 1 strength, number 2, number 3. Number 2 is for semi-hardwood cuttings. And then in your, like so. I use my fingers. If you don't like to do this, you could make a little dibber out of an old pencil or something. And those are the heel cuttings. Now, with shrubs like Weigela, you've got this new growth that's come on the end that is truly semi-hardwood on the top. And because it's hot summer weather, these are going to wilt over quite quickly. So pinch out that little growing tip. In fact, we can take it right out like so. And then make your cutting about 6 inches, 15 centimeters long. Make a cut right beneath a leaf joint so that you've uncovered that, because that again is where the root initials are. And you do this with hydrangeas or fuchsias or geraniums. You could even do your geraniums at this time of the year. Dip them in. Of course, you'd have a label, but you can tell that this is different, and you go like so. And then rhododendrons, which are very, very difficult to root. You can try those with the heel method as well. Again, just pulling them off, and actually the heels show up much better on this particular one. You just trim them, a little bit of rooting hormone, and you could keep on going until you filled up the whole flat. When we come back, Judy Newton invites us to see the perennials in her beautiful balcony garden.
In a dozen provinces and territories,
Our Yukon Bureau.
across the country and across the cultures,
Part of the AM network. CBC Television.
in a host of different languages. At home, coming to you from Regina, and around the world.
CBC News, Hong Kong.
The CBC.
This is CBC
Mesdames et
Halifax.
messieurs, bonjour et bienvenue.
It's yours.
Fresh as a New Brunswick morning. Introducing milk with a cool new look that says down home delicious in the farm fresh tradition. Northumberland. New Brunswick's best to your family. Migration.
Who gets in, who stays out?
Crime.
Is gun control the answer?
Social programs.
What will the cuts mean? I'm Wendy Mesley. Join me for Issues That Matter.
Sunday Report at 10 p.m.
I welcome you to my hotel.
A Polish countess arrives for her son's wedding.
At least she has money. One fib led to another.
When they get wind of this, they'll call the whole thing off.
Faye Dunaway in Road to Avonlea, Sunday.
Hi, my name is Mike.
Thanks a lot. You've been a great crowd.
I should just open up, tell you a little about myself.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much. How are you?
Woo!
Take care. See you later. Nice to be here.
Signing out to you and you and you.
I guess I should start off with a little about myself.
Hey, folks, you've been great.
Hi. Take care. I'll see you later.
Now we have a real special treat because we're at the home of my friend, colleague, Judy Newton. Judy, I don't know how you do all this. You work full-time at UBC, you answer the letters for the show, and you grow all these plants.
Well, what else would I do when I was at home?
It's amazing. How long have you been growing, say, this Lavatera Barnsley?
I grew it from a cutting 2 falls ago, so I had it last summer, and this is its second summer, and it overwinters outside.
How big's the pot?
It's, I don't know, what do you call it, a 16 and 14-inch
Yeah.
pot, clay pot. The only problem is it dries out really quickly in the summertime, so I'm probably giving it almost 2 gallons of water a day.
Is that right? And I see you have saucer at the bottom, so you let
Yes.
the water sit in the saucer,
I do. Otherwise, I feel that otherwise the water just runs away,
Yeah.
and I need it to soak back up.
But who would have thought you put such a giant on your patio? And you've used a lot of perennials here. That's one of the UBC plants, isn't it, in the basket?
That's Artemisia, the silver brocade.
Yeah?
It's a really nice one in a hanging basket or in a window box or however you want to use it. the first year it's always the prettiest, and then it needs to be cut back, and I don't let it flower. I snip them off.
It looks beautiful there. Now down below, as we go down, that delicate little purple flower, what's that?
Oh, this is this one here. Ah, well, that's called Bowles Mauve, and it's a Cheiranthus.
Which is a wallflower, right?
That's right.
And how long have you had it?
I've had it 4 months. It just keeps blooming and blooming and blooming. And I get tired of it, and I sort of stuffed it in a corner, and then I like it again after a while, and it just keeps going.
I'm amazed at how much stuff you have in this tiny place. This is a beautiful pot. Have you just done this one this year?
I did it this spring for a demo and I've got a really pretty heuchera in here, and I think did we say it was Bridal Veil?
No, I think it's that.
Blue Moon, not Blue Moon, Silver Moon.
Pewter Moon.
Pewter Moon.
That's right.
I was close.
And then in the middle, I think that's pearlwort, you know, that silvery thing.
I like leaves and textures.
Annapolis.
And the little lamium,
gorgeous
White
thing.
Nancy, and it overwinters with just no problem at all, comes back.
And a touch of gold there is from that little tiny campanula.
Yes, a little teeny blue flower.
Yeah.
And then I just, couldn't live without this plant. I
that
saw
wonderful?
it for the first time this summer. It's called Salvia argentea.
Yeah.
And I was told not to let it flower, that it would stay, the leaves would stay nicer, but I'm sure I will let it flower.
Yeah. Now tell me, what do you do with all this in the winter? I mean, do you move it in the house and you go away, or what?
Well, just about. No, not really.
What about the pot there?
Well, this I am almost embarrassed about.
Why?
All these abutylons were in my hanging baskets last year, and I tore the baskets apart in the late fall, stuffed them all in this pot, and I really didn't expect them to survive the winter outside, but they did. So there's 3 or 4 different abutylons in there.
And more lamium.
And more lamium, and little volunteers, and the same with this, they just volunteered, and but in a very severe winter, those abutylons wouldn't have survived.
Yeah. Well, I just have to ask you quickly, Judy. It's also wonderful when you've got so much in a small space. If we lived, like you from Winnipeg, if you lived there, you couldn't really do this, could you?
Not easily. If you had a balcony but also a garden, I would sink the pots in the garden. But you might put them, the smaller ones anyways, in foam coolers. But I think growing perennials on the prairies, I don't know, I never did it, but I think it would be really difficult.
And then you have something very exotic down here, that beautiful rosette. The sort of thing you'd expect to see in California.
This was the first time that it bloomed, and I just was really excited about it. I don't trust it being hardy, so I do put it on my kitchen windowsill in the winter time. But isn't it beautiful? This is my north deck.
Oh, I see. So do you get much sun up here at all?
Well, actually, a fair amount in the morning, but then the rest of the day it's really nice and cool.
It's amazing. You have a pond here.
Just a little one.
Yeah?
And then I grow lots of things that I can disguise the edges of the pond, like this native plant, which is
the runcus. And that's
yeah.
amazing. So it's a true BC native?
It is.
Obviously happier than the hostas.
The hostas are wonderful. They're a really super perennial for growing anywhere.
That's right. They're very hardy, even on the prairies with snow cover.
They are, and they just die back in the winter.
And the native fern?
The native fern is lovely, isn't it?
I don't remember its name.
No, I don't remember either.
And then down around the front here, that's a lovely heuchera.
It is, and heuchera is another perennial that does really well in containers and lots of nice leaf color.
Yes, I'm forgetting. It's Pallas purple or
yes,
something,
it is.
I believe they call that one.
Pallas purple.
But this is truly amazing. Now, the size of your decks, do you sort of have any idea?
It's about, this one's, I think, 9 by 12.
Yeah.
It's a little bit bigger than the one downstairs.
And the one we were on before
was a west-facing deck.
So it gets very hot there in the summertime, I guess.
Really hot in the summer, but I can grow sun-loving plants there, and I grow shade-loving plants on this deck.
And do you move things around sometimes?
Oh, hardly at all.
Always like
Constantly.
that. Oh, it's just amazing, Judy. Well, that's all the time we have. I thank you for sharing this with us. It's the time of year when we really need to be putting the garden to bed, you know, and so what we're going to do is protect this little fuchsia. This is a hardy fuchsia for us out here on the coast. Fuchsia magellanica comes from the southern tip of South America, and this happens to be a variegated form. We never really know how difficult the winter is going to be out here, but before the frosts really come and take a hold, put a piece of chicken wire around it and try to just anchor it in place with a couple of canes. Not always the easiest thing to do. And a little tip for those of you that live in really cold parts of the country, you need to do this after the ground is frozen. We're taking a little bit of chance ourselves out here. If you do it before the ground is frozen, then all the little voles and the wonderful little creatures it's like going away to Hawaii for them for the winter. They go inside here and they'll munch away on your plants. The leaves themselves should be nice and dry. These are a little on the wet side. Out here on the coast, it's almost impossible to find dry leaves, but these will work quite well, and just put them in lightly around the plant, okay? And there's mostly oak and a few many larger. Like out here, sometimes we have catalpa leaves that are very, very big. If they're really big, then they'll sit together and they'll rot, and you'll get compost happening in here. But just nice and light around the stump. And then, one more. There's even a few sticks in here, and that doesn't matter because that's going to help to keep it open. Because we do get a lot of moisture out here on the coast, I would then probably cut a little piece of plastic, like an umbrella, to put over the top, so that you get the air circulation going through the side, but not lots of water going in. And by the time spring comes, the lower ones will have started to rot down a bit, and they'll form a sort of a mulch that is usable to the plants. Now, there are a lot of other things that you can do this on too. And over in the vegetable garden, we have carrots in the ground. The soil's nice and well drained there, and things like parsnips. You can leave them in place, and you could put chicken wire all around the outside, sprinkle some leaves across the top, and that means that in well-drained soil, you could even go and dig those root vegetables December, January, right on in through to February. So it's something that you can utilize no matter where you live in the country. You can use this for vegetables or flowers like this lovely little tender fuchsia. And I would guarantee that you'll get a lot of things coming through the winter that you never expected to before, especially if the soil is well drained around them. Anyway, it's time for us to take a break. The Best of Canadian Gardener continues in just a couple of minutes.
What's your favorite time of the week? Now, let me guess. Monday mornings, right? No? Hey, I'm Brian Sutcliffe, host of Weekend Mornings on CBC Radio. Start your Saturdays and Sundays like I do, meeting the most interesting people in the Maritimes.
Yeah, it's kind of warm, isn't it?
Have you seen any salamanders?
Hope your sponge coffee turned out all right there, Terry. It's a great way to start enjoying your favorite time of the week, Weekend Mornings on CBC Radio.
Monday on NB Now, starting over. A year ago, Randy Oldfield was flying down right wing, dreaming of the big leagues. Today, he sits and dreams of his first step. A story of courage, Monday at 6 on NB Now.
Tuesday, the amazing story of a Canadian grandmother who took her granddaughter underground, hiding out from the law, while the girl's mother fought a losing custody battle.
Did you feel like a criminal?
Never.
The Fifth Estate, Tuesday.
Your consumer watchdog.
What if you're wrong in your diagnosis?
Looking out for Canadians.
How sophisticated is this new breed of car thief?
Bill Paul and Jackie Perrin keep a sharp eye on the marketplace. Tuesdays on CBC.
There are many words to describe this man. He's eclectic, sesquilingual, an entrepreneur. He's a dictophile, a man of many words and dictionaries.
At last count, 5,559.
He not only collects words, he generates a few of his own sometimes. A man of his words. On the road again, Tuesday at 7:30 in Newfoundland.
Gary's an inventor. His product is the Barrel Booster.
Federation Life was in severe financial difficulty.
Are they not accountable?
Making business your business. Venture Sundays.
This week's indoor gardening tip is all about sowing perennials indoors. First of all, you need some nice mix, which I've already put on before, and then you just level the tops off. You don't want to fill them too tight. Level it off with another pot like so, and then carefully push with the bottom, same size pot, and it levels it off, makes a nice seed sowing surface. You don't want any dips and hollows because all the seeds will roll down into them if you do. Then I've got some Helleborus, which are very, very tiny seed. If you actually sneeze, they'd all blow away. And there's always more than you need, but you just simply gently put them in on top like so. and there's enough there for you and your neighbors or to give to a plant sale that's going on in your area, then just cover them lightly with a little bit of soil, not too much. And I put a piece of plastic, like black plastic, over the top, keep them on a warm windowsill, label them, and of course it is important that you give them a little bit of a drink, and then once they're up, they really should be transferred out garden, say April or May. This week off the garden path, a beautiful fall flower. It's Anemone hupayensis. We used to call it Anemone japonica, and as you can see, this is a very fine white form of the plant. It's a good perennial for all of us, no matter where we live across the country. And if it's happy, it seeds itself like you see all these other ones around us. It has all kinds of good qualities. It's drought tolerant, which is very, very important in these days. And also, like other perennials across the country, in the wintertime, as long as you can guarantee a good bit of snow cover there, it's going to come through beautifully. If you were going to split it up and divide it, I would leave all this top growth on all winter long, and then say February, March, April, depending where you live, you could lift it up, split it up, and move it around, and that would be just fine. It's a good plant for all gardens across Canada. And that's all the time we have for today's show. As we leave you today, we're going to take a look at a beautiful garden in Pierrefonds, Quebec. In the meantime, I hope you're still having fun in your garden wherever you are in Canada. Until next time, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Hello, flower lovers from all over Canada. I am Carmen Laboussaudière. It's a pleasure for me to greet you in my garden. As you will see in a few moments, almost everything is grown under mature trees. Even though it is quite shady, I've managed to grow plants which seem to be happy. Please, be welcome.
This is CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. You're watching CBC New Brunswick. Make it yours.
Now, this is whiskey. Whiskey has a sore paw. And so I have all kinds of things here in a veterinary hospital to help me take care of that, including Technicolor bandage. But what should happen at home if you encounter an emergency? Do you have a first aid kit? Well, today on Pet Connection, we're going to be talking about setting up first aid kits and a whole lot more. So stay right where you are.